It's John Beaudin from Rock History Book, and this is Today in History for August 17th. If it's your birthday, happy birthday to you. If you know someone's birthday is August 17th, you might want to share this on their timeline. Kind of a little birthday present. There's some good news, some not so good news, but some great releases on this date in history. Remember, if you want to support the channel, there are links at the very top of the description where you can help us out. It'll certainly keep this feature going for a lot longer. The headlines today, August 17th, he didn't commit suicide because he feared he'd miss drinking too much if he was dead. Dan Fogelberg also gives us a warning. And born on this date, the late great Boston drummer Sib Hapshin is born. Lead singer for Dexy's Midnight Runners, Kevin Rowland. Go-Go's Belinda Carlisle. And it was a big day for Paper Lace and The Night Chicago Died. 461 Ocean Boulevard from Eric Clapton. The Doors' third album. And a lot more. August 17th, let's go. Born on this day in 1943, Dave Snacker Ray, American blues singer and guitarist, born in St. Paul, Minnesota. He died in 2002. He was 59 years old. In 1947, rock and soul musician Gary Talley of the Box Tops and Big Star is born in Memphis, Tennessee. As mentioned earlier, Sib Hapshin, late great drummer for the band Boston. Jim Mastio was their original drummer. He only plays one song on the debut album, Rock and Roll Band. But it was Jim who formulated most of that stuff till the record company decided to replace him. So in came Sib, who shared drumming duties with Jim Mastio on their third album, simply titled Third Stage. Sib was born in Boston, Massachusetts on this day in 1949. He died in 2017. He was 67 years old. In 1953, Kevin Rowland, British rock musician for Dexy's Midnight Runner, was born. And this is what he looks like today. We all remember their hit, Come On Eileen, born in Wednesfield, England. And in 1955, Colin Moulding, bassist for XTC. A lot of folks think Andy Partridge, who had to leave XTC and leave the stage because of stage fright, came up with all the hits, but not so. The three first UK charting singles were written and sung by Colin Moulding. As mentioned, he was born on this date in 1955 in Wiltshire, England. He wasn't as prolific as Andy Partridge, but he did come up with Life Begins at the Hop in 79, Making Plans for Nigel, which was a big one from the same year, and Generals and Majors the following year. In 1958, Belinda Carlisle, the lead vocalist for the Go-Go's, and of course she had her own hits, is born in Los Angeles, California. 1962, Gilby Clarke, American rock guitarist, was in Guns N' Roses from 91 to 94. Born in Cleveland, Ohio. Look at this guy. He looks like the Marlboro Man. I've interviewed him twice. He's one of the nicest men I've ever interviewed. Canadian blues guitarist Colin James. Born in Regina, Saskatchewan in 1964. Did I mention he's such a great guy? If you don't know his music, please Spotify or Apple this guy. Check him out. My story for this lady is, for about 5 years, I was involved in smooth jazz radio. I was a program director for a station. I was co-chair of the Canadian Smooth Jazz Awards in Toronto. And one day I was backstage ready to go on. I think it was Jeff Lorber who was coming on presenting an award with me. And I looked over, I saw that woman standing there, she herself ready to go on. And I was just flabbergasted by what she looked like. Sure, I'd played her on the radio. I'd seen her on album covers. But I'd never seen her in person. And this was my reaction. I just came up to her and I said, I just think you're the most beautiful woman ever. Maybe I've done that 10 times in my life. I did it for Mesa Leak, who was born on this day in 1966, born in Baltimore, Maryland. In 1969, singer-actor Donnie Wahlberg. He's done okay in acting. New Kids on the Block, born in Dorchester, Boston, Massachusetts. In 1994, Phoebe Bridges, American singer-songwriter. Born in Newport Beach, California. She was a member of the band Sloppy Jane before embarking on a solo career. We're going to get to the big headline in a second. In 1973, these are people who passed away. Paul Williams, not to be confused with the guy who wrote all those hits. He was the original lead singer and founding member of The Temptations. He died of an apparent suicide in Detroit. He was 34 years old. 1987, studio drummer Gary Chester dies in New York City. He was 62 years old. He was a member of the Coasters. And in 1990, actress-singer Pearl Bailey dies of coronary artery disease in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was 72 years old. She had a top 10 hit with Takes Two to Tango in 1952. In 1993, Johnny Sayles, American soul singer, I Can't Get Enough of Your Love was one of his. He dies of a heart attack. He was 56. Singer-songwriter from the Dwight Twilley Band, Phil Seymour died in 1993, died of lymphoma at the age of 41. In 1968, Felix Cavaliere and the Rascals go to #1 with People Gotta Be Free. And it stayed there for 5 weeks. In 1974, sure, it was a little hokey, but it was fun. Paper Lace and The Night Chicago Died reached #1. On this date, in 1974, Eric Clapton's album 461 Ocean Boulevard hits #1 in America. Later, Clapton invited the Bee Gees to record there. They recorded their Main Course album at 461 Boulevard. And the address, by the way, had to be changed because fans kept flocking there. 461 Ocean Boulevard for Clapton marked a new life for him as he was overcoming a heroin addiction. The album had Otis Redding's Willie and the Hand Jive, Willie Dixon's I Can't Hold Out, and the Bob Marley song which became a hit, I Shot the Sheriff. In his autobiography, Eric Clapton said he didn't want to kill himself in the 80s because he feared he'd miss drinking too much if he was dead. Now there is a line for you. Of course, it was heroin addiction, many rehabs in the 80s, well, a few, and he knew sooner or later he had to clean himself. Of course, lately there's been a lot of kerfuffle about him not wanting to wear masks, and he doesn't like the mandates that we had to go through with COVID. It separated a lot of the fans. In 1968, the Doors' third album, Waiting for the Sun, hits #1 in America, thanks to the hit single, Hello, I Love You. The Beastie Boys and Run DMC wrap up their Together Forever tour with a show at Madison Square Garden in New York City. In 1987, Tom Waits releases Frank's Wild Years, his 9th studio album. Events that happened in rock and roll on this date. And in 1969, Jimi Hendrix would end Woodstock, one of the greatest performers of all time and one of the greatest performances of all time. Of course, there was an Oscar-nominated documentary that came out of it. In 1980, the Toledo Speedway, Jam #2, with ZZ Top headlining, also included AC/DC, Sammy Hagar, Humble Pie. It was kind of a situation when it came to Elton John with The Boy Who Cried Wolf in 1984 on the onset of his latest tour. A very tired Elton John announced that it's his upcoming retirement. Of course, he didn't retire, and he's doing it right now. In 1993, Jeff Buckley performs at the Cine Cafe in New York City. A few months later, recordings from the show would become his first release, an EP called Live at the Cine. And in 1995, on this date, Depeche Mode lead singer Dave Gahan slashes his wrist in a suicide attempt. He's taken to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he wakes up in the psychiatric ward. Remember, in 1995, it was an event. Microsoft buys the rights to the Rolling Stones' 1981 smash Start Me Up to use the theme for their Windows 95 rollout. And in 1998, Carlos Santana gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And a sad note, singer-songwriter Dan Fogelberg revealed on this date in 2004 that he was battling advanced prostate cancer. He died 3 years later on December 16th, 2007. Losing Dan Fogelberg, that was one that hurt me because I remember I started, not with his first album, but the Tim Weisberg duet album, Twin Sons of Different Mother, Part of the Plan. I loved everything he released and I bought everything he did. And there you have it today in rock history for August 17th. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see this feature continue, please support our channel. There are PayPal links in the description, as well as you can join our Patreon or buy a t-shirt. We always appreciate doing this today in history because it's a lot of fun because I learn a lot of things too. Remember, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. And if you know someone whose birthday it is today, August 17th, put this video on their timeline. Like our videos, subscribe, share them as well. It helps keep this channel really healthy so we can continue doing this. And remember, links in the description if you want to help out our channel. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Book. Take care of yourself.